They're always the first to go.
Right, right, yeah. Hey. Hey guys, I guess we're live here. I'm Eco Dave and
this is Raven.
And before we start, we just want to put out a disclaimer.
Content over everything!
Any views that we put out here, or any opinions, are purely opinions, our own opinions. We don't condone or we're not pro or against anything we're going to say here. This is just information.
Yes.
It's up to you to go away and do some research on this. You know, we're actually going to go a little bit deeper in the internet here. Raven's familiar with it. I'm familiar with it, yeah. And it's quite an interesting topic. So, but please, you know, again, the disclaimer: we're not for it, we're not against it. We're quite neutral about this. We're just putting out information. And if you would like to go further and have a look on the internet, it's fully accessible to the public, yeah? So, without further ado,
right,
we're going to talk about an organization, we're going to talk about a group called CarbonNation. Now, CarbonNation have been making big waves on the internet for more than a year. We're going to talk about NatureBoy and CarbonNation. That's his group, yeah? So we're basically, they've been making big waves on the internet for the last probably about 2 to 3 years. And they're following a lifestyle. Basically, I'm going to use their terminology. They're leaving Babylon and going their own way. And they've actually set themselves, originally they were in Costa Rica, then they were in Guatemala, yeah, maybe?
You know what it is.
Yeah, Guatemala, and now they're in Mexico. So you can research them online. They put about 4 or 5 vids up online. Again, I either agree with what they're doing or disagree. But I think it's an interesting topic, and we're going to talk about it today. So would you like to, from what you've kind of researched, would you like to kind of give your overview of CarbonNation?
Well, it's like this. Obviously, just to give a back context of why we're here, Eco Dave approached me and says, have I heard of CarbonNation? I said, if you're part of like the woke community, you're going to hear about many people come together to do constructive work and so forth. And so for me, the area of interest that I jump in on is the concept of, you know, leaving where you are to go to like a more green-based land and try and live off the land and be more harmonized with nature, more holistic kind of living. Yeah. That's my area of interest. Now, the particular collective you're talking about, the CarbonNation, don't know any of them, don't know much about them, I've never spoken to any of them, so I wouldn't know, but as a concept, I support people in their freedom to go onto the land, live off the land. I'm not sure if they do this, I'm not sure if they grow their own food.
Yeah, I can go a bit further with that, yeah?
Right.
So they basically, a lot of people and a lot of groups now are going back to the land and growing their own food, becoming self-sustainable, not relying on supermarkets, not relying on governments, getting eco-villages together now, and going back to the land, not depending on a third man, you know, the supermarket or the salesman. So I agree with that. That principle I definitely agree with. I think we'll come back to that. We'll definitely be going towards that point anyway, whether we like it or not. Now, the concept of, you can look at a guy called John St. Julian as well. He's also creating an eco-village in Tanzania. Again, you can research him online. He does permaculture, etc., etc. He's basically supporting about 1,000 children's education, and he's supporting the outlying community. So there are many communities doing that. He's making a model. He's making like a template that people may use in the future. So good up to you. Good on you, John. We've communicated, yeah. But getting back to CarbonNation. So the idea was to get back to the land and to leave Babylon. If you can, they've got a whole back file of videos going back, you know, 2 or 3 years. They're online every day, yeah. So the idea was to go back to the land, basically, yeah. However, and I just want to give you some backstory on NatureBoy as well. Let's just go into NatureBoy as well. Let's finish that point. However, they don't seem to have got to that point yet. It's all they seem just continuously trying to get to that point, but they're not at that point yet where they're growing their own food. They basically live in a rented condo in Mexico, yeah. Now, their idea was to, he says he's living in the jungle. He's not. He's living, has first world amenities, running water, swimming pool, So the message that he's giving out and how he's actually doing it are, in my opinion, they're conflicting. Now, just want to give you a little bit more information. NatureBoy is quite a controversial figure. I don't. There's many people making comments online. I don't know his history. I don't know him personally, so I can only judge from afar, or not judge, but I can only give my opinion from afar. Yeah. So you can all research all of that. I'm neither for or against. Yeah. But he's basically in the Black American conscious community. If you've heard of the likes of Young Pharaoh, then you're probably going to be familiar with him. And you know, there are a lot of people who are now active on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and they're putting forth their ideas on how, you know, where they think the right direction is to go in the the African American community. So it's, you know, and you know, there's quite a volume, there's quite a lot of rich information there as well. So, but getting back to, Young Pharaoh, you know, if you've heard of him, you probably might have heard of NatureBoy. But talking about getting back to NatureBoy, so the idea that they have is getting back to the land and basically, you know, almost like an eco-village. So I agree with that. I mean, you know, being able to grow your own food. And I think we're going to come to that, you know, with natural disasters, with the ecology, with the land becoming so overused that we basically will have to get back to that. Again, you can see my vids on veganism, etc., etc. I don't think that the British public will be so familiar with NatureBoy because he's from Atlanta or New York originally, and the whole story is kind of it seems to be more popular with the US audience.
Jump in. Would you want to talk about more the idea of what people like him are trying to do, or him himself?
Both.
Okay. What's your area of interest with him? Why are you so fascinated with him in particular?
Not fascinated with him, but I think he's become quite controversial online. That's why, and I will go into that in a minute. So the idea, what I'm saying, he's actually putting out a message to go onto the land, to go back to the land. He says in the jungle, but he's not in the jungle. He's actually living in a condo in Mexico, riding motorcycles, and he's living a first world life in a third world country. So what I'm saying is, be very careful if you get drawn into this group, because the message they're putting out.
Oh, so you're doing more of a warning piece?
No, not warning. I'm just saying to people put a message out online.
Right.
And what the message out and what they're doing, you can always tell people by their deeds, right, not by their actions, not by their words. Right. But what I'm saying, he's putting out a mixed message, because if you look at a guy, one of his colleagues was a guy called Phoenix Rising. He's from Honduras. Have a look at his videos. He's made a lot of videos about NatureBoy, and a lot of NatureBoy people who have been with NatureBoy have made comments about this. And also the BBC tried to get an interview with him. What I'm saying is, the idea of him going on the land, I agree with that. I think we're going to have to go back to the land. But what I'm saying, you have to be careful with people who are saying, get back to the land, give us donations on Patreon, give us donations on PayPal, give us donations on Facebook.
You sound like you're doing a warning piece.
It's not a warning piece.
I could be wrong. You're trying to tell people, before you give money out and go anywhere, research.
Yes.
Well, that's all
a
I'm
good
saying,
message.
Research. That's a good message to give out there.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular gripes with this particular individual?
I don't, because I've never met him. But I would say to him, he's professing that he's the Christ or whatever. He's not the Christ, guys. He's not the Christ. He's the chief. He's the commander-in-chief. He's not. This is something I will tell you. He's not enlightened. And I would sit down with him and debate him anytime. I would meet him one-on-one. But guys, this guy is not enlightened. He's getting all his information from Google and YouTube, and all he's doing is regurgitating his information. As you know, so he's just regurgitating. But be careful. Be very wary. You know, we all know about Jim Jones and all of that, but he's professing to be the Christ. He's not the Christ. Of course he's not. But you have to look at his lifestyle. He's living in a condo, and what he does. He hasn't worked. He hasn't worked for many years. He's traveled, ended up in Costa Rica, like that kind of lifestyle. But he's trying to fund his lifestyle. He's got a very controversial background. He used to be a male stripper as well. But that's by the by. I don't want to get into that. But he's funding his very luxurious and very nice lifestyle through getting donations online And through getting donations, drawing people in, primarily women, when he draws one person in, they have to usually end up giving him all their money to be able to stay with him. And what usually happens, either they get dumped after a month if they don't agree with him. I must say, some of his videos are quite shocking.
Did you get all this online?
All online, yeah.
Right, isn't that what you're telling people not to do though?
No, I'm saying, right. You can research the guy online as well, yeah.
But have you spoke to any kind of members of this particular...
I have come across it, yeah, I could, yes.
But have you spoke to anyone who was actually there?
Yes, yeah.
And they've told you this information?
Something different things, yeah, okay. So getting back to it, guys, so what he usually does is he gets funds from people who join him, and he's got a steady flow, especially women seem to be interested. Young women, 18, 19, 20. Of course, they're looking for an alternative lifestyle, as many people are, but they seem to be getting drawn into this group. And he has kind of, before joining the group, he vets the people online, and also he makes demands on the people before they arrive, they're expected to hand over all their money, even their cash cards, to him, and he regulates the money. One guy gave him $300,000 about 2 years ago in Costa Rica. That money has been frittered away on motorbikes, technology, whatever. He has spent it on other people who joined him without money, without resources. He's paid for them, so that's one plus. But what I'm saying to those people who are considering joining him, that is the system he's trying. So what he does, he's got a steady flow of people. Now, somebody might last 2 weeks. If they don't agree with his ideology, philosophy, he kicks them out. They may last 6 months, and then he kicks them out. But you don't leave with the money that you've put in, basically.
Right.
So it could be a scam. What I'm saying is it could be a scam. Yeah. Just one more point. Yeah, one more point. It could be a scam. Yeah. Now, so basically, and it seems like it's young women. He professes that he wants to be polygamous. So it seems like he professes also to be the alpha male. So you've got a bunch of guys there, you're probably about 50-50 male and female. There's about 10 guys there, and there's about probably similar amount of women as well, yeah, mostly young women. But he has 5 wives there. So he actually gets the women as they come in. The women are also a part of this. I'm not saying he's coercing them, whatever, but they're also doing this, yeah. So he gets basically he's got 5 wives. The other guys don't have wives, they don't have girlfriends, whatever. So he professes himself to be the boss, basically, yeah. What I'm saying, I'm just putting a warning or a caution message out there. Be very careful before you get involved with all these groups, because you'll lose your money, maybe one. You'll become malnourished, as many of those members have become malnourished because they're not eating the right diet. A lot of females, if you look online from 1 month to the next month to the 3rd month, there's a drastic change in their physique. And basically, you're at his command, basically, and will. You know, even his wife, who's just, or his supposedly principal wife, Eliana, who's just had a baby, just watched a couple of days past how he treats her. You know, very, I would say, in my opinion, very negative. Just a point before Raven jumps on, is that he's not enlightened, by the way. He's not enlightened, so don't be, but he gets all his information, and you say, well, how do I know he's enlightened? Well, you can research that, but he's not enlightened. He gets all his information from Google, he gets all his information from YouTube, and he just puts his spin on, as many people are doing. Young pharaohs doing that too, as many people are doing. But don't be fooled by this guy. Okay.
Okay. So for me, the thing is, I don't know what people are doing. I like to talk directly, so I can't say yay or nay, right? So all I can do is what if scenarios, right? So I can't say that the people you're talking about are doing negative things are correct or incorrect. But I can say that if someone is doing something negative, how do we recognize it, right? So more so, give people a way of processing so they don't fall victim to these kind of quote-unquote scams you're talking about.
Yes.
But that is not saying that I agree that what you're describing is a scam.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not there.
I'm saying it could be a scam. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, it's more so having like a jet thing, like before you go and commit this, here's what you should research.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So for example, for me, it's like if I'm going to go somewhere, I have to think, okay, do I have to pay? Okay, you know, so it'd be like, am I allowed to have any of my own personal belongings? No, I don't want to go. If they take everything, they go, okay, well, why do you need everything? I need an explanation that makes sense, right? Also, it'll be like, You know, is everyone equal? If everyone's not doing equally,
no, it's not. They're not. They
right,
don't seem
so
to be
I want
equal.
you to
They seem to
understand.
be under his command. Yeah.
Well, it's like this. If it's something like you do things by percent, so for example, you take 10% of someone's earnings, so that means that someone who makes 30 grand a year is going to give more than someone who makes 2 grand a year, right? So what I'm saying is having these principles idea, but more importantly,
He takes the lot though. Yeah.
well, I don't know about this, but what I'm saying is, it's very important to talk to the people who are there, because what happens, like you're probably right in everything you're saying, but if everyone there is content and they're happy, even if it is quote unquote a cult or a non-cult or whatever, if people are happy to live that way, we can't say nothing. So if people want to practice polygamy, be vegan.
No, I don't know. That's
that's right,
I'm not. I can't.
And then
it's up to them.
Here's what it is. If you're saying that someone's confessing one thing but doing something else, that's an important claim, right? So I think what you're saying in a what if scenario, correct if I'm wrong, you would prefer them to say, when you come here, it isn't just completely disconnect from Babylon, because we have motorbikes, TVs, and
we're using money.
Yeah, and money, right?
Yeah.
But once again, I think it's very important that we use a what if scenario, because it's most unfortunate when people in another part of the world look on the internet and they see people who don't know them making all these judgments, and you're not actually there. So what I would do, try to facilitate that conversation so you can ask these questions so you get confirmation. That's what I would do.
This group now, or the media around this group, is massive now on the internet. Because it seems to be more almost even like a drama, basically. So there's a huge audience from the States. There's, worldwide there's an audience as well. And they seem to be putting out content to draw people in, basically, yeah? But there's a lot of testimonials from previous members who were in that group. And they have given their experience. So I'm not saying, not saying take my word for it. Look at previous members.
Are these all negative?
It is quite negative. There's a guy called Rambo. He was recently there. You can check his what he's put out. There's a couple of members that have left recently. You can put out there, and it seems that once they've left, NatureBoy starts criticizing them and really going in on them, basically, almost like he doesn't want the information to get out. But there are not just one or two members that have left. There are probably in the double figures or more, and they've gone online and given their testimony. And you can also check out Young Pharaoh. You can check out somebody also called Assay Divine. She's had a lot of members come on her channel, ASEDEVINE. She's had a lot of members come on her channel giving testimonials, and also Young Pharaoh has done quite a few testimonials with one of the members that's still there with her family. So the Aliana, which is the principal wife of NatureBoy, Young Pharaoh has actually done interviews with her father and her siblings, basically, yeah. So you can check out. Don't take my word for it. But what I'm saying is, before the idea of going into the jungle and living a very simple, basic lifestyle, yes, but he's giving this image away that he's actually doing that. He's premising all of his group and his philosophy on that. But his actions say another thing. He's living in a very nice, mansion in Mexico, not in the jungle, living in a suburban area. Yeah, okay, it's a bit more tropical than most places, certainly more tropical than the UK. But he's living in a suburban area, and he's basically got all the tech. He's got computers, all of that. He's riding motorcycles. He's using local currency. So his actions don't show that he's really serious about getting back to a basic lifestyle, But it seems like it's almost a way of drawing people in that may be interested in that lifestyle, and using them for his financial gain and to perpetuate his group, to continue his group. Because somebody comes in, they give them a couple of $1,000, they move on later, and then they look for other members. They are actually, I would say, grooming in some respects younger women online to come there. And
would you do a hangout with these members?
Yes, definitely. I would. If NatureBoy, if you're listening, I would, be more than willing to get on, do an Instagram live with you.
My only concern is...
I have spoken to you before, by the way. I haven't met you, but I've spoken to you before online. So you do know my face, yeah? So I'd be more than willing. And also Young Pharaoh, if you want to set up a hangout, I'd be more than willing to go online.
Yeah, I think, my only concern is you're saying this stuff that you haven't actually directly spoken to anyone. And that's very important. Personal research. You know?
Oh no, I have done a lot of research on this group.
As in the sense of like trying to interact directly with the people.
With previous members, I have actually interacted with some of those members.
But also members who are there.
Like, not currently, no.
Yeah. And that would be my first thing. Like the people who are there now.
No, I think you need to see both sides. Yeah.
But for me, like I said, I don't know where everything is positive and negative. I couldn't answer. I don't have the information. But I would say that all I can do is what if scenarios and say that if you're going to go somewhere, you want to make sure you always have your freedoms and you always have you know what you're getting into.
So what about if you're just let's say a scenario where you've left the stage,
yes,
you've cut off ties. He encourages people to cut off ties with their family.
Okay.
You go there and basically you hand over your money to him, and then he starts dictating your lifestyle or how you to behave, what to do, what to think.
I can't say much about
Seems like that's online,
situation,
yeah.
But it sounds like one of these situations. A lot of people who are dissatisfied where they're living. A lot of people might be have low self-esteem.
Yes,
and
agree with that.
And they might be more attracted to like personas and stuff. I'm not saying this is him. I don't know the guy, know the situation, but I've seen these behaviours before. What you're describing. Yes. Now, I would like to think that what the brothers are doing is very positive, and you're actually inaccurate.
But there are many brothers doing positive things, setting up communities. But they're doing in my opinion in a wholesome way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
not in a financial gain way, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, for me, there's nothing wrong with people come together trying to have some kind of financial gain. If they've got... If
collectively, but not one person.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, I prefer people to declare stuff. So if someone has a business venture that they're saying, look, I'm this charismatic person, and, you know, and if you give me this amount of money, you can hang around me, and I'm going to do these kind of things. If that's your business, that's your business. What I don't agree with is someone is practicing deception.
Yes.
Where you're saying one thing, when you come, something else is delivered.
Yes, and that's what I think, in my opinion, I agree with Raven.
I think Michael Jackson actually, he set up, I could be wrong, but I think Michael Jackson set up a situation where people paid money to be with him in the room before he died. And because this was an experience that people want to have.
Yes.
You know, you could say that's exploiting people. Technically, if that's what they want and he's up front, then I can't argue with that, right? Mm. So in the what if scenario I'm putting out there, I say that as long as someone declares what they're doing, I'm okay. So if I say, look, if you come to my camp, we're going to slap you for 50 times. It's going to slap in your face. If you agree to it, I can't say nothing. But if you say, I'm going to the camp and I'm coming to the camp so I don't get slapped, and the first thing you get is slapped, now I'm concerned.
Yeah, because that's another point. That's a good point. I just want to interject with that. It seems that the women may be getting some of that behaviour as well, from third hand. But I can't make it.
If that is going on, I definitely don't agree with this.
So, you know, in my opinion, it would be deception. But what I'd like to ask you, Raven, is do you think as a collective, it doesn't matter what background you're from, what culture you're from, what nationality, what group you're in, do you think this is a way forward to create small communities and go back to the land?
I think there's a value in trying to be self-sustaining. And I think there is something to try to become more holistic in the way you do stuff. And I think for many people who might find themselves depressed, that might be a solution for them. And I can see why some people might go to some of these places that might not actually be delivering what they're promising. But what was originally promised seems very adventurous, very new, and people might equate a lot of their past griefs with the environment they're in, this kind of quote-unquote Babylon, right?
Yes.
So I understand that. So yeah, I would say definitely there is a value in that.
Do you know of any groups that are actually doing it in a positive way, in a wholesome way?
Yeah. Well, I know of Jamaican and Ethiopian groups.
Yes.
Like the Rastas and stuff, where they go to Ethiopia, they go to certain lands in
yeah, you can research Dr. Sebi as well, Honduras.
Yeah, Dr. Sebi.
Yeah.
So I definitely
have groups there.
But one thing I do want to do as well is there's going to be many communities who go off and do their stuff, and in those communities things might go wrong. I never want to tarnish those communities with the things that go wrong. So for example, we live in London, and it'd be wrong for people to watch the news and then say, this is London. You know what I mean? Negative. It might actually be negative. But what I'm saying is, so if what you're saying is widespread, like it is just across the board, lies, deception, negativity, there's a problem. But if it's just disgruntled people and, arguments here and there and certain kind of half-truths, but the community as a whole is still thriving, then I wouldn't necessarily, say it's a problem. But if it's a cult where people are being deceived and people are being directly brainwashed, because we're all brainwashed in some way, right?
By society, by the government, education system, etc. But you can I'll just jump in there. You can actually, if you're aware of that, guys, you can actually minimize that or not be involved in that. Again.
Right. So this is the thing. But once again, proper journalism, we have to actually talk to people.
Yes.
Right? But as a concept, I support the brothers and sisters going on the land, trying to be independent and trying to like, be harmonious and lovely to each other. I support that. If it's a cult or if there's this deception or mistreatment, I do not support this. That's why you have to have conversations.
Yes, yes. And do you think it is, you know, we all know the pluses and minuses of being in, because he likes to use the word Babylon a lot. So we all know the pluses and minuses of being in Babylon. Do you think it's a good idea just to, I mean, in your opinion now, yeah? A lot of people seem to make, especially young people, I mean, people travel, etc. But a lot of people seem to be interested in this, you know, kind of withdrawing themselves from Babylon. We're talking about the Western civilized world, basically, yeah?
Right.
Or modern society.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a, what do you have a view on that, on the plus and negatives of that, or you know, or your own opinion?
It really is, as a people group, it depends on how well treated you feel in society. Do you feel that you yourself individually, the people group you're from, has been treated correctly and fairly? Do you feel that your needs are met? Do you feel that you have a freedom to practice certain things you want to do? If no, then the solution might be to go somewhere else.
Yes.
And to be self-sufficient if you can.
Yes.
The sad thing about the education system at the moment, where you find it here, is you're not going to be taught how to live off the land.
Yeah, they don't teach farming in the schools here, guys.
They're not going to teach you how to purify water or anything like that. They're not going to teach you how to build a house.
Yes.
You know,
the basics of life: shelter, food, water.
Yeah, how to make your own clothing.
Yes.
So you will then become part of the system, and you're going to help perpetuate it. So yeah, if you feel you're not connected, I think this is a good idea.
How difficult do you think it might be, though? I mean, this is one point that a lot of people have come across. You know, it's an idea to go and set up and live on the land, etc. But it's not an easy thing to do. Going to another country, first of all, is you have to have visas,
Yes.
and you have to update those visas regularly. That's one point. You know, people do. You know, if they're older, maybe they retire there, whatever. But as a young person, you're going to go out. You don't have the same status of going, you know, as you would do in your home country. You know, so this is very important. You have to research that as well. And what are the requirements for foreigners? You know, you can't just go there and expect to be there indefinitely, because you need your visas, etc. You need your paperwork. You may need to extend your visas, things like that. But even going back and having the resort, you know, if you walk into the jungle without anything, you know, it's not an easy lifestyle. You know, look in the tribes in South America. It's not an easy lifestyle. It's a very tough environment. And to be able to be self-sufficient, you have to be prepared. You have to start this thing off and grow your first crops to look 6 or 8 months ahead. So you're not going to have food straight away. You know, you're going to have to be, probably the best to be in a community and to, you know, obviously buy your food, but then move into growing your own food. I must mention NatureBoy and CarbonNation, they're not, as is of now, they're not growing their own food. So, you know, it's a long process. It's a long, you know, to actually, do you have time? Would you have enough time in another country to do that? Could you do it? Obviously, you do it in your own country. In a climate like the UK, it's very difficult to grow your own crops.
Well, but yes.
And to have the land and to be able to afford the land to do that.
Type of crops.
Yeah.
But then there's some guys here called the Rainbow Warriors, or the Rainbow family, I think. And they were here last week. And they don't really care about that. They just go on land and do what they want.
Do they? So
have you spoke to the Rainbow family?
I have, yeah. I think the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I spoke to him recently.
The brothers here.
Yeah.
You should talk to them.
Yeah, I met him recently.
Because they don't necessarily care about paperwork and stuff. They just go there and start doing.
Yeah, but you get kicked off the land in the UK because there's regulations, there's farming regulations.
So I take it you don't live off the land at the moment.
No, I don't.
But would you like to?
In a place where it was accessible and you could do it sustainable, so you could do it in the right way, not illegally.
So would you like to go to this particular place?
No, I wouldn't. I would not choose to go to that place, but I would say to the younger generation, you may want to consider setting up your own groups.
What about you? Would you go there and maybe potentially try to be the new leader? Would that be?
No, that's not a position I'm not interested in.
You're not interested in leading?
I don't think anybody can come into NatureBoy's group and become the new leader. He's the only one.
Right. Well, if he was to retire, would you think of taking over?
No, I don't have. I would like to live in a community where everybody's equal.
Right.
And everybody has an equal input, and have a self-sustaining community. And there are many. There's not just one or two, but certainly I would not. For the many reasons I've just mentioned now, I would not. That doesn't apply to me. I would not even consider that. You know. But like I said, I'm willing to get online and talk to the guys. Yeah. There are only certain places where it's viable to grow your own crops and to actually live a self-sustainable life. I don't think it's very easy to do that in the UK because of farming regulations, like I mentioned. But to do it illegally, like squats, well, we all know what happens to squatters. They get kicked off. They'll be moved on, etc., etc. if you do it in an organized way where you buy the land as a community, maybe, but then you'd be growing winter vegetables, potatoes, carrots for winter, and maybe salads in the summer. But what I'm saying is the vast cost of owning land in the UK, it seems to be out of range for most people in general. Well, that's why people are going to Costa Rica and cheaper places.
But then that's why people do things in collectives, don't they?
Yeah.
And so you don't think about starting an Eco Dave collective, like where you have your own cult and stuff?
No, I'm not interested in that.
For you?
No. But I say I wouldn't mind getting involved in a community that's also already established or starting to establish, but a wholesome community.
What would you bring to the community? What values would you bring?
Say again?
What values would you bring? Why would they
I think I could bring. Well, I think people will bring. There to bring. Everybody has talents. Everybody has their own gifts.
What's yours?
I would. Oh, wow, that's a
good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
Because what I know is when you actually go on these places, you will be doing stuff.
Yes.
So it isn't like where you might be able to get by in this community by doing very little, right?
Yeah.
So is there any particular skills you
I don't think
have to bring?
Okay.
What do you bring to the table?
I think as a person involved in those communities, this is just only my opinion, take it or leave it, but you would have to give an equal input in all areas. So if you're farming, you work a regular day farming the land, but then you also do the cleaning, you do the cooking, you do. So
can you cook?
Yeah.
Vegan cook?
Yes.
What kind of?
Yeah, well, I mean raw. It's quite simple vegan food, so it's a lot of raw food.
Do you use spices?
Only if it's conducive to vegan.
So that's the thing. You try to go to the community. Depending on there, they might not want you if you don't like season your kind of vegetables.
Well, yeah, I mean that's also debatable. You can season as long as it's aligned with veganism. I'm saying for me.
Yeah, well,
I'd probably choose a vegan.
I think all seasons should be aligned with veganism to be honest, as a concept, right?
Yeah, but they'd have to research that. Each individual one. But so I think I think the best system would be that people give it equal input. If somebody has a talent or whatever, of course, then they can use that. But you don't have to assign different roles to each people to different people.
Would you want more than one wife, or would you want one wife?
I don't really want to talk about that on camera.
No? One husband or wife?
I don't want to give that my view on that.
Right.
Just purely because I don't want it to become. Any kind of. To sway off the topic, I mean, I'm talking about lifestyle.
We're talking about because you've described lifestyles that these guys are upholding. So obviously, this will be potentially in the community that you might.
But I don't want to condone or not, or agree with.
What I'm saying is, if this was going on, would you not participate in these kind of things?
I think I'll skip that. I'll skip that one because I have other views on that.
All right.
Yeah. So maybe that might be. I have other views on that. But what I'm saying, those communities can be built up, right. But it seems to be that more conducive environments like Costa Rica, Central America, even though it's not a safe country in general. So basically, but it has it's very conducive to actually growing your own food. So I would certainly research Costa Rica, Honduras, Honduras maybe. There's other places within that area. It seems to be more conducive to owning your own land, maybe. But again, you've got to look at visas,
What about European countries? European countries?
Yes, I could.
Like Spain, Greece.
Yes, I was just going to mention that actually. That those countries, the southern European countries, because of the climate, and for growing food, may be more conducive for Europeans and the lifestyle and the food as well. I mean, there seems to be an abundance of very rich food, because of the climate there. Yeah.
Would you be in a situation where you could raise enough money to contribute?
That can be. There's various models online that can be done in various ways.
No, but you personally, because for example,
I think you would have to contribute a certain amount.
Yeah.
For whether I don't know.
Would you be able to?
I don't know. Minimally, I don't know. I mean, you also could give your own skills. Like I do IT. You could probably, give your whatever.
What area of IT?
We talked about that before, yeah. So just, I mean.
Oh, that. Oh, right. Because I don't know if that's going to help much on the land.
On the land, yeah. But you still got to do books and things like whatever, designing structures anyway. But getting back to what I'm saying is for the young generation.
Yes.
Really research this. If you're interested in going back on the land, you have to really research it, and research to go to. To be affiliated with groups that are, you're basically aligned with, not just any random group. Yeah. Can I give you something I watched online about 2-3 days ago?
Go ahead.
So NatureBoy was actually interviewing. Well, he's come up with this idea, which he's had for 2 or 3 years, of growing food on the land, which he's been. Again, his actions don't align with his words because he's been talking about it for 3 years, but they're still not growing their own food. They're buying the veggies in the market. So they actually I don't know, you'd have to watch the video yourself, but they got in touch with 3 guys that wanted to join the community. And these guys were basically from the States, they're American citizens. They've ended up in Mexico. They seem to be, judging by the video, they seem to be there quite a long time, and they've run out of resources. So he was trying to get, in my opinion, this is really negative about this group, because he was not welcoming these guys on an equal basis. He was looking to use them for cheap labor to grow, to produce food for their community. Not like NatureBoy starts digging and making food. No, he was trying to use these 3 individuals to be labor, to, you know, again, now you start getting into areas of past history and whatever. So because these guys were down on their luck, had no resources, no money, he was looking to use them to cultivate, to dig up the land, but not pay them and to grow food for them. But NatureBoy and his little collective were not willing to actually put in the effort themselves. You can look at it online. They turned these guys down because at the end of the interview, these guys didn't have a visa for Mexico. They're in Mexico illegally. They didn't have a visa for Mexico, and also from the group vote, they weren't accepted into the group. You can look at that online.
Is there anything positive that CarbonNation are doing in your mind?
There is some positive things. They're putting the word that there is a potential lifestyle that can be created for the young generation to go and live on the land. That's my.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, I would say be very.
Well, let's leave on a positive.
Okay. So.
But But like I said, anyone from the CarbonNation, this is Eco Dave. He's built up his channel, so maybe you can talk to him about all this kind of stuff.
Okay, Raven. I'll speak later. Cheers, buddy. Thanks for that. Okay, and if CarbonNation are watching online, if this video gets out there and they check it online, I'd be more than willing to go live with you on Instagram or on YouTube or on Facebook and to discuss the matters that we've talked about in this video. You can get in touch with me by clicking on my email on my Instagram channel, which is EcoDaveMedia, all one word, EcoDaveMedia, all one word. And that's on Instagram. There's a little email button there. You can click on that and I will get the email if you want to get in touch with me. So, but what I'm saying to anybody who's considering getting involved with these communities, look at what they're doing. When you arrive there, you've got to hand over all your money. You're not going to see that money again. Basically, then you are under the control of NatureBoy's whim, and he seems to be quite a temperamental person, up and down, basically. He makes those people stand up like this for 3 hours, 4 hours, where he gives basically rants to them, because they don't talk, he just rants to them, yeah? So there's women standing like this, they don't drink water, whatever. One of the women nearly passed out the other day as she was standing up. So he makes them stand up like this. I don't know whether he's trying to formulate some kind of army or whatever. They stand there like this for 3 or 4 hours, and he just gives a rant. A lot of it is incoherent ranting, in my opinion. Yeah. So be very careful. Don't hand your money over to people. Don't hand your cards, bank cards over to people. And don't get involved with people. People are going there, doing that, and they don't have any resources to leave, and they're under the command of this guy. You have no free will in these groups. In this group, certainly, he likes to dictate everything to everyone in the group. So, NatureBoy, if you're listening, you're not enlightened. Enlightened people don't do that. You're not enlightened, and I will debate you any day. And go through with you. You're not enlightened, and you're certainly not the Christ. You're not enlightened. Contact me, EcoDaveMedia. Thank you very much.
Content over everything. From your melody. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen.
Oh God, it's bright. So obviously, I just wanted to come on just to elaborate earlier about the video with Uncle Jamal. So Uncle Jamal's come on COE. Obviously, he's not really happy with myself. So just to kind of make people aware, I wanted to give everyone an update, and I'll do one update on Big Art's channel as well. So the situation is this: with everyone who's donated, they've basically said to me, look, don't give him the lump sum. Now, Uncle